Rockets head coach Ime Udoka and general manager Rafael Stone met with Houston media today. What do they have to say about the future of your Houston Rockets? I'm about to break it down. I'm Paul Gallant, and this is the Gallant Says podcast.
A radio show host in Seattle called Paul Gallant.
Paul Gallant's wondering the same things a lot of people are.
You are definitely living in the hindsight world today, Paul.
Do you feel there's been a consistent theme with the interceptions?
I think every interception really has a different story.
I was just kind of curious what Paul gets to see.
Paul Gallant, what the hell is wrong with you?
Hello and welcome aboard the Gallant Says podcast. It is late Tuesday, May 6th, live on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe, please. Also on Twitch at Gallant Says. Why not give me a sub? It's on X and Twitter at Gallant Says, on Instagram at Sports Gallant, and on Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. You can catch it at various times, Monday through Friday, or occasionally after major Houston sporting events. It's also available after the fact wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, and if you want to cut me off mid-thought, super chat me on YouTube, the best way to experience this bad boy, and I'll play this.
Paul, stop talking. Listen.
That's former Houston Texan Wade Smith telling me to shut up once in the middle of a segment on the Texans flagship. I've played that clip so many times, I wonder if it's gotten back to him at this point. I'll eventually get to your comments no matter what, though. You don't have to pay me. It's just greatly appreciated if you do. It means I get to feed my cat. Before we dive into what Ime Udoka and Rafael Stone had to say at their end-of-season Houston Rockets press conference, they met with the media for about 38 minutes or so today. I did want to establish something for the Houston Rockets the remainder of this offseason. I'm going to call this the Paul Gallant 2025 Houston Rockets offseason doctrine. I used to mispronounce that word for far too long, but that's neither here nor there. We're going to use an old friend, Yul Brynner. Remember Yul Brynner? No? Am I pulling another dated reference out of my ass? Yul Brynner was in a lot of movies back in the 50s and 60s, specifically one of them, The Ten Commandments. If you've never seen The Ten Commandments, this is the iconic line, at least in my opinion, that I still say from time to time whenever I make a grand statement and want to pat myself on the back. I say this.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
This hat's sick. Anyway, listen. We're about to establish a doctrine, and after every single point that I lay out, so let it be written, so let it be done. Point one. Amen Thompson is the Houston Rockets' best player. This is not debatable, and I would like him this offseason to work on his range.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Thompson is as close to as untouchable as possible.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
As close to untouchable. I said it right that time. Sometimes I struggle reading on this thing. Alperen Şengün, point three, is the Rockets' second best player. This also is not debatable. Even from you, Psycho Şengün stands over in Turkey.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
As far as Şengün and whether or not he's touchable, he's not untouchable completely, but I better be getting something really special in return. I mean, we're talking top shelf. Bare minimum Kevin Durant, but I wouldn't feel good about that. I'm talking Giannis Antetokounmpo if he's getting moved. He's close to untouchable, but not completely untouchable.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
The Paul Gallant Houston Rockets 2025 offseason doctrine continues. I am not entirely out on Jaylen Green, who I do think was a victim of Elite Warriors defense. If you watched tonight's Warriors Timberwolves game 1, you saw that the Warriors completely locked down Anthony Edwards, who we all think is a lot better than Jaylen Green, even though they are the same age. So there's definitely some people all of a sudden who are making excuses for Jaylen Green. I'm not entirely out on him. However, one, I don't want to hear about him as being a star player again. At least from local media. I'd also like to hear it from national media. 2, I would like the option to block his Wingstop ads. And 3, the man needs to get his confidence up this offseason. Some way, somehow. Basketball isn't enough. Dating noted basketball wag and having a child with noted basketball wag and strong, powerful, independent woman, Dry Michelle, isn't enough. I need my man to go out and do something uncomfortable. And I think that might unlock it. And I am suggesting this, again, karaoke Saturday night at T-Bones. Arguably the greatest karaoke spot in the entirety of the Milky Way galaxy.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Paul Gallant doctrine for the Houston Rockets this offseason continues. Fred VanVleet and Steven Adams slander is outlawed. The latter, you never heard it. Steven Adams rules. Fred VanVleet slander, though, a lot of it this past season. No more. No, 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 no.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
Another point. In Ime Udoka, we trust. The only thing I would really nitpick with Ime Udoka, who has pelts on the wall, given that he took a Boston Celtics team to their first finals. The only thing I'd push back on as far as what we saw in this past round was that I'd like to have seen a little bit more minutes from Jabari Smith and perhaps a quicker plug pull on Jaylen Green. But in Ime Udoka, we trust.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
As far as Rafael Stone goes, I'm still a little skeptical about the guy. I think he happened to be in the right place at the right time when Daryl Morey left the Rockets. And I felt he was a little bit too much of a control freak during the Stephen Silas era, an era where the Rockets were soft, undisciplined, and let a lot of young players do whatever the hell they wanted. They were an unprofessional operation. I think Stone has learned some things from those experiences. And I think that over the past couple of years, some of the picks that he has made, Alperen Şengün late in the first round, Amen Thompson, having him fall into his lap, certainly some luck involved with both picks, but he has made some good moves. Fred VanVleet's been great. Trading for Steven Adams, great move. Dylan Brooks, he's helped. He's done some good things. So I'm willing to extend an olive branch to him for those past 2 seasons, and I'm willing to forget the Stephen Silas era. However, I am not willing to say, in Rafael Stone, I trust. We'll get back to that a little bit later in the show when we take a look at this press conference that Ime Udoka and Rafael Stone did.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
The Paul Gallant Houston Rockets 2025 offseason doctrine continues. All other players are on the table for a trade. If you're not Amen Thompson, and unless it's a real top shelf item for Alperen Şengün, everyone is on the table. Jaylen Green, Tari Eason, everyone. Reed Shepherd too.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
And definitely Cam Whitmore. Goodness gracious. You'll hear about him in this press conference as well. All draft picks on the table. The odds of you getting the number 1 pick are pretty low. And I understand there is that fear that you could potentially lose out on it if you ship them off, and you do have a bunch of extra lottery picks that are going to age pretty well, I think, with the Phoenix Suns. All of those trades, all of those picks are on the table. You're now at a point where, yeah, continuing to draft would be good, but it's time to turn those chips into a real asset right now. I understand trusting your process, but hey, man, all those picks, look at them like lottery tickets and look at them like currency.
So let it be written. So let it be done.
So there you go. That is the Paul Gallant 2025 Houston Rockets offseason doctrine. Leonard M. comments, keep all the players and let other teams come to us. I think that's what the Rockets are going to do based off of today's press conference. What's up? My dog, allegedly per se 69, also in the house. So what the hell happened at today's Ime Udoka, Rafael Stone press conference? I'll admit, I took a little bit too long watching this thing today, cutting down little clips that I thought were interesting from it and getting them in a slightly smaller form so that it would be easy for me to roll through all of these clips on this show tonight. So let's take a look at the first couple of things that were said at this press conference. Here is both Rafael Stone and Ime Udoka. Hang on a sec. Right out of the gates in this press conference, a rather long answer from the two of them about what they're looking at and how they view this team going into the offseason.
I mean, I don't want to seem hypocritical, so I guess, you know, you never know. If I will give you an inside betting tip that I think continuity is very, very likely.
Continuity is very, very likely. This is something that at the beginning of the press conference and throughout the press conference, all 38 minutes, Rafael Stone in particular, but Ime Udoka talked about.
Last summer we didn't make changes because we were really comfortable with where we were, and we'd seen really good things from our team in terms of kind of a good progression. And I think we saw more of the same this year. So I think the bar to make changes is very high.
The bar to make changes is very high. That goes to what Leonard said just a moment ago on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Keep all the players, let the other teams come to us. You don't want to seem desperate. You don't want to seem like you're excited to get back on the market. No, you want to seem like you got a lot of great products and that you want to keep this whole thing together. And you're hoping that someone looks at what you have, gets desperate, and gives you a ton in return for it. And by a ton, I mean a top-of-the-line player. Because that's all you're missing at this moment in time. You got the defense. You got the attitude. You just don't have the consistent offense.
If you are evaluating potential free agent additions, is timeline and age kind of still a priority now, or because your team is older and more experienced, does that kind of timeline matchup not matter as much?
I mean, we're still a very young team, so yeah, it's definitely still important. We won't, you know, I mean, it's more important how good you are and what you can bring, but you know, we do want, you know, we want to be very competitive for as long as we possibly can.
That lends itself to keeping your young players, being patient, and letting this thing grow. And as someone who grew up a Boston Celtics fan and has seen how long it took these Boston Celtics to get to where they are right now, I understand why Ime Udoka, someone who was with that team and got them to their first finals, is looking at them and thinking to himself, you know what? Let's keep letting this thing go. More questions about the Houston Rockets at their press conference today.
And it's for Rafael. How do you weigh the potential of getting a superstar level player with knowing that you probably have to give up a young player to get that star player, but it will accelerate your championship window, with wanting to keep your young players and see if they get to that level, but you don't know for sure if they're actually going to ever get to the superstar level?
Yeah, I mean, we're in the business of people. They're unpredictable.
That's an annoying answer. Such buzzwords. Straight to LinkedIn you go, Rafael Stone.
If we trade for a player, assuming that player will be the same player in our environment that they were in the last one, that's not always the case. And
that is a flex about the current state of the Rockets. There are some people who might not do so well if they were to join this organization from a place that maybe isn't exactly as established a culture of, hey, put in the fucking work.
And so, you know, you have to make the best choices as you can. But I would say plan A has always been to develop our current group and hope that we can be good enough within it. And and on that front,
the plan has always been to develop the current group Ime Udoka later in the press conference will co-sign what Stone's saying and says, yeah, I'm looking to develop these guys further.
Everybody improved, and we're really happy with that level of. I'm very happy with that level of improvement.
And they have improved a lot. And Stone flexed a little bit later, saying, yeah, look at where we've gone to from a wins perspective. We've gone from 20-something to 41 to 50. Yeah, it's been really impressive. Leonard M. comments, Ja Morant or Giannis would be a good fit. I'm going to say this about Ja Morant. I do not trust that guy's judgment at all. I do not care about that stupid Nike video that he did where he made it seem like he's been through something. No, he put himself through stuff. And I don't give a shit about him going on Instagram Live with a gun. I don't care about that. I care about the incident with the teenager playing pickup basketball. I care about the incident where his group, his friends, his whatever you want to call it, were allegedly shining a laser into the Indiana Pacers bus, or the incident that took place at a mall. I don't think he hangs out with the best people. And I don't think that he has really learned from his mistakes, just given the way that he acts. I find him amusing. The grenade celebration after they were finding him for the gun celebration was pretty damn funny. But I'm out on Ja. Giannis, yes. I want Giannis so much. I enjoy Giannis as a person. I think he's funny. And that's just the personality side of things. I think he'd love it here in Houston. What I have been trying to do is getting as many people here in Houston, specifically our amazing restaurants, which I think are second to none, to show Giannis all the awesome food offerings that are here in Houston. So maybe if he gets hungry enough, he'll ask out. I don't know that he's the kind of guy that would ask out in Milwaukee, though. He won a championship there. I think people in Milwaukee would be semi-understanding if he were to ask his way out, but he might be happy there. So really all we can do is seduce him, whether it's with food or just reminding him, hey, remember that time that you hired Hakeem Olajuwon to help you out with your footwork during the offseason? Maybe Hakeem Olajuwon, for a small fee, can help out on that front. More from today's press conference with both Ime Udoka and Rafael Stone. Stone's the first one that's going to answer with this moment right here. Both were asked about if they felt the Rockets had enough in this series against the Warriors. And to a degree, both Stone and Udoka said yes. But while bumbling around a little bit here, I think you got to wonder what Stone is thinking internally.
I kind of felt the whole series like we were going to win it, and so I'm disappointed we didn't. But I don't think we didn't because we didn't have enough. I think we didn't get a break. The ball bounced the wrong way. Somebody hit shots. We didn't hit shots. But no, I have faith in our guys that we have plenty.
I would say the key word that we always talk about is consistency, and I think that was the case in the series when we played really good basketball. We had some blowout wins, and we played average or below. We still had close losses, and so the more consistent you can be across the board and avoid some of the situations that even got it to a Game 7 would be one. But other than that, I'd say 90% free throw shooters and 50% three-point shooters.
Yep. I do think Stone is right with some of the shots that didn't go in. You know, you take a look at the amount of times that, whether it was Jaylen Green or Amin Thompson or Şengün rimmed out. I think it's fair to wonder if they had bad luck there. I'd also point to what's going on, at least to open up Game 1 between the Warriors and the Timberwolves. And I know that Steph Curry suffered a hamstring injury of some sort, and that Buddy Hield has gone ice cold, and yet it doesn't seem to matter because the Warriors are swarming all over Anthony Edwards. There's always an element of luck involved in sports. The Rockets did have some bad luck in this series, but I'm also not about to say, hey, man, this is the reason that it's not working out. Comment on Twitch, D6 Krish TX says, fuck it, cut Jaylen Green and make Paul a starter. He got us. Who are you talking about? You talking about me? Bro, I don't have a left hand. My basketball shot is like awful trebuchet, slow winding, high release. It is difficult to swat for what it's worth. And I will foul out of every single game. Every single game. Probably get called for a technical or a flagrant. No, you don't want me playing basketball. D6 Chris HTX says, neither does Jaylen Green. Jaylen Green is so much better than me at basketball, as are pretty much anyone who's ever played basketball. I'm a good flag football player. I will leave it at that at age 36. Fuck, I keep on forgetting. Anyway, I keep forgetting I'm getting old. I keep forgetting I will never be in my 20s again. I keep forgetting I should grow up and be a man. It's time to settle down and stop living by myself with a cat. But I do have a 2-bedroom condo. It's in Tanglewood, but it's not officially in Tanglewood. Okay, that's enough Michael McDonald for everybody. More from Ime Udoka, from Rafael Stone at the Rockets press conference. They kept on talking about the idea of continuity. Here is another 2-minute answer about that.
Continuity is great. Sometimes they're not equal. And we made a big addition to our team this year in Steven Adams. We acquired him at the trade deadline last year, but he wasn't playing. And I think we all believe that was a really, really helpful addition. And so I think continuity for continuity's sake isn't what we're trying to achieve. But I do think
that's an interesting point there. And I do think that is a slight tell that, hey, they're not standing entirely pat this offseason. Continuity for continuity's sake does not guarantee that you are going to improve. I think that's an important thing to consider. More from Rafael Stone.
Especially given we have so many young players that we think are internally improving. I think it's easier for players, it's easier for people to improve and to feel good in situations that they're comfortable in. So continuity helps with that. And I think from a coaching perspective, you're not trying to bring somebody in up to speed. And obviously there are guys who are just so high IQ that it's all really quick, but there's lots of effective players who it takes time. And so the more continuity you have, the less you have to do some of that. So again, all things being equal, continuity is great, but the goal ultimately is to build a championship team. And if we think that there's a move or a series of moves that make it more likely we will be that, then we would ignore continuity and we'd do those moves.
I would say to this point in the press conference, it's pretty clear that the Rockets are not leaving anything off of the table. I think that they would prefer these guys to grow and become the best players they can be. But I think if you're giving Rafael Stone truth serum right now, he's got to know that a big-time move is going to need to be made. Some comments here before we finish the rest of this clip. Leonard M comments on YouTube. We had a good season, not a good matchup. I agree with that. That's why I'm not as mad about Jaylen Green. It's why I'm not as mad about the series falling the way that it did. I feel the same way about this Rockets team that I did about the 2023-2024 Houston Texans. Everything was gravy. There were some real limitations, specifically offensively in the playoffs. And they went up against a team that has not necessarily been there and done that. The Ravens hadn't won a Super Bowl, but, they were clearly a leg above them. Jeff Green did not play. I don't think it's a big deal that Jeff Green did not play, but Aaron Holiday not playing enough, I think that is fair. Was it Game 6 where Aaron Holiday had that ridiculous three-pointer from outside? D6 Chris HTX comments, Whitmore needed more minutes as well. You will hear how the Rockets feel about Cam Whitmore in just a moment. Meanwhile, Lucifer's ballsack, nice, on YouTube comments, Rockets and Texans are only going to get better, which is good because the Astros suck balls. Man, this guy's big into balls. I like it. D6 Crutch HTX responds, Texans are washed. We shall see. We shall see. All these teams, you look at them right now, Rockets and Texans are jockeying for first place. The Astros, who lost again tonight, not scoring runs again, now back under 500. I'd say that the way things are right now, they're the leg up. Anyway, more from both Rafael Stone and Ime Udoka talking about continuity versus making a splash.
Yeah, I would say for me anyway, it's we talked about going into year 2 and the goals, and understood that everybody was going to be much better in the second year, and so we kind of hit the ground running as far as that. To this point, only addition of Steven was there, and I think it really was a big part of us jumping out the way we did this year, and so that continuity is good, no doubt, but you've seen teams make a lot of moves, and they feel like they need to get over the hump, and Doncic is added or Butler is added, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but we always felt comfortable about what we had here.
They're saying the same thing. So it's a little bit of, we want the continuity, but hey, I mean, if something is available, we're going to jump at it. Very curious to see if anything does become available for them outside of the very likely phone call that the Phoenix Suns will make, calling to see if the Rockets are willing to give up anything for Kevin Durant. More from this press conference. This is both Ime Udoka and Rafael Stone, first Stone, talking about Jaylen Green for a good 3 minutes and 17 seconds. We will stop and go along the way.
Jaylen didn't have the series that he wanted to have, or we didn't, but I think, it's a little bit of a double-edged sword in terms of trying to evaluate it, because their goal going into the series was to take him out, and that was obvious. And
being defensive here, and it was obvious. They were throwing a lot of attention his way, which is one of the reasons I'm not that out on Jaylen Green in the way that some are. And I think for some of the biggest Jaylen Green stands out there, I think that Anthony Edwards' performance tonight against the Warriors is a sign that the Warriors are playing great defense out there. More Rafael Stone.
I think they talked about it. I didn't actually listen to what they said afterwards, but people told me what they said, so who knows? I think they talked about it. We're not a team built around any one player offensively, whether it's Jaylen or Alperin or Amen or Fred.
I'm okay with that. I don't know that everyone is. I heard Ryan Russillo and Bill Simmons going back and forth talking about the idea of the Rockets offense. Is it actually possible for them to make things work with both Jaylen Green and Amen Thompson out there at the same time? And from the sound of things, they didn't seem to believe that it's possible for Amen Thompson, who's clearly the guy, to work with an offense that's still trying to make Jaylen Green get his, if you will. But I don't know. I like the idea of team basketball, and that there's not necessarily any one individual who's better than everybody else.
And so if your goal is to take out one of our players, in theory what should happen is that our other players should just punish it. And Ime frequently talks to the guys about inviting double teams, hit the guy, and you're the sacrificial lamb. And so, in some games we punished it, in some games we didn't. In one of the games we ended up with great spacing, and we were able to punish it with him. That's maybe unsustainable, but
honestly, I'm glad he said that. Unsustainable, a 38-point performance. Yeah, that's a pragmatic and realistic way to look at Green and how he played in game 2.
But yeah, I would just say that for all of our guys, we want them to learn and everything else, but it's not, one playoff series doesn't define a player. But also I think
a entire career of playoff series disappointments. James Harden defines a player.
In particular with him, and that, yeah, if a team's going after you like that, they're going after you like that, and then it's a team game for a reason. And I'm confident that if we want to take any one player out, we can and will on any team in the NBA. And so it's just the repercussions of that impact the winning or losing. That's how I think about it.
Yeah, and more of the same where he really improved as far as that. It's a compliment to him that teams will go after him to that extent. And
Udoka said that after a couple of the games in this series, that it is a compliment to Jaylen Green that teams are pressuring him the way that they are. I think that you heard from both Draymond Green and Steph Curry, who might have been politely responding to questions asked by Big Sarge Sports, but they were very deferential and respectful of Jaylen Green. And yeah, I think we should be to a degree. The amount of people that are out on him, like this is 10 years of James Harden's bullshit. I don't think it's fair to Green. Anyway, more from Udoka.
You saw it throughout the season. He had, some practice at it, and we got better at it. But the main thing is obviously getting the ball to the playmakers behind it and not turning it over. And at times he struggled with that early in the season, and he's really improved there. To Rafael's point, we made them pay at times, and then at times it worked in their favor. Vice versa with them when we took Curry out at times, and Peyton hurts us down the stretch, but a lot of other guys miss wide open shots, and we win those going away. And so
they did. I just want to say for a moment, as we continue to hear from Ime Udoka, I wish that I had that gravelly voice. Good God, it is something else. I'm trying to work on an impression of Ime Udoka. I think I have to hear him a little bit more. My impressions are not great, but with a little bit of work,
the more practice and confidence you have with that, and him just, being the decoy at times, like I mentioned, and so there are opportunities that you still will have with that, and the more stops we can get, the more we can play in transition to avoid those is good for him and good for us. But he went through some growing pains, no doubt. I think physically getting stronger to absorb contact.
Yes, and for Şengün too. Those guys got to bulk up a little bit, because Green, when he drives through the lane, he's going a million miles per hour, but that speed that he goes with doesn't really seem to push people back. And I also think it would behoove Green to work on some sort of runner, because he's going so quick towards the basket. Well, there's got to be a spot where he's maybe not right under the hoop, where he's able to just jump and put a floater up, and maybe he's too out of control with how fast he goes to do something like that. But yeah, I would like to see that. Anyway, more Udoka talking about Jaylen Green. This was a 3-minute and 17-second answer from both Rafael Stone and Udoka about Jaylen Green, which I do think is a sign that they like him, they have his back, they hope that he can continue to improve. They also do realize that there's a lot of pressure on them to potentially upgrade from him, given how poorly he played in this series outside of game 2.
On some of his drives when he has the advantage, or finishing at the rim when he does get the driving lane. All those things are things we talked about with him going into the offseason, and able to use him off ball a little bit more. And you got to get a little bit stronger as far as that, because they took him out of some of those actions where they couldn't trap. And so some areas for him to grow, obviously, some areas for us to use him a little bit better. But when he does face those, we have enough talent behind it, especially a really good passing big like Alpi that should punish that every night.
Speaking of Şengün, on the Twitch, D6 Chris HTX says, and first off, to get me to sound like Ime Udoka, just start chain smoking, and that Şengün is the least intimidating big in the league. Least, that's a stretch. I'd say Braden Post on the Warriors would be one. There's others. There's certainly others. I get what you're trying to say here. Look, the Draymond Green complimented him after the fact, and I was always of the mindset that Draymond hated all European basketball players. More comments here. Furious Rufus says, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. There's a lot of words talking about Jaylen Green that you just heard. Leonard M comments, Jaylen will be better next year. He smelled blood this playoff. His availability is essential. No players in today's game play all 82 games. Yeah, his durability is something else. It's actually Harden reminiscent, honestly. Harden, for what it's worth, for all the partying, the guy somehow showed up every night and still put in his 20 to 30. Anyway, more from this press conference. This is the moment of the press conference that actually bothered me. So Jackson Gatlin of Locked On Rockets asked after finding some data, asked Rafael Stone, and I think he meant it for Ime Udoka as well, this question.
This is for both of you guys. There's a decent amount of lineup data that suggests that this team has performed better without Jaylen Green on the court this season. How much do you incorporate that kind of data into your decision-making process moving forward, be it roster construction, coaching decisions, that kind of thing?
Yeah, that's a really flawed question. So like we have, there's great data that we have and we use.
That is not a really flawed question. It's not. It's a way to ask about the struggles, and it's a way to ask if this team would be better served with Green off of the team. I think that's a totally fair question, and it was worded politely by Jackson. The stats are not available to Udoka and to Rafael Stone, so you can see why he pushes back as quickly as he does. But I don't know. It came across to me, I've watched it a few times, as a little condescending. There's a moment coming up that in particular, and Stone's a bit smug. I don't know if he can necessarily control that. I don't know if that's a byproduct of going to a great school in the Northeast like Williams College. But this is a really, I thought, cocky answer by Rafael Stone when he could have just dodged the question entirely, saying Jaylen Green is a big part of what we do. We love him, we support him, and we can't wait to see what he does this offseason before he gets back with us next year. You can lie. It's not a big deal if you lie to us. It's not. It's weird that there are a lot of people in our industry that get mad about it. Sports coaches and sports executives lie all the fucking time. Anyway, here's the part of the Rafael Stone answer that actually gets a little bit worse.
But, and I can, Ime would know, one of my favorite things, and I tell him when we have new coaches join, one of my favorite things to tell them is I can make data say whatever I want it to say.
Oh my God, shut the fuck up. And by the way, take a look at Udoka's face after this is said. I mean, you can glaze off essentially. Your eyes might glaze over. Is that the saying? I don't know. Again, it's a little bit late here, but what an insufferable fucking thing to say. Anyway, take a look at Ime Udoka's face as he lets that marinate in. That one of my favorite things is that I can manipulate any data I want.
And so, I think
deadpan, straight ahead look.
We heavily use it, but we're very careful to try and really parse it out. And I would say that I would say that some of our very best lineups include him. Man,
that's a lot of trying to figure out what he's trying to say on the fly here.
And so that piece by itself, I just think that's just not correct.
I mean, that's his opinion. He is the general manager of a playoff basketball team. But to start off that question saying it's a flawed question, that long bullshit answer that featured just an insufferable comment. Like, I love, this is one of my favorite things that I tell Ime Udoka is that, I can make data say whatever I want. Yeah, everyone can do that. It's not like he's alone in doing it. It's just fucking insufferable to say that as you were answering a question about something that we don't need facts to put out there. Jaylen Green has struggled. And those numbers, you can check them out. Jackson Gatlin hosts the Locked On Rockets podcast. You can take a look at them, and maybe you disagree with them. I think Big Sarge Sports had a pushback to a degree to those graphs that Jackson put out there. I haven't checked it out yet. all I'll say is that was an insufferable way to answer the question, and he said nothing in the entirety of that answer. And he could have dodged it and said nothing in, I think, a less condescending, less talk down to me manner. And here's the thing about Stone here. I think he's done a really good job over the last couple of years. This is someone that I looked at with the entirety of the Rockets operation a couple of years back, and I said to myself, I don't know where they're going. The articles that were being written about how Stone was basically running the show, to me, I thought that didn't look good. Because I looked at Stone and I thought to myself, this is a guy who was down the hallway from Daryl Morey. Daryl leaves for family reasons and goes to the Philadelphia 76ers immediately. And he's thrust into this role. And look, you learn on the fly. It takes time to get into a role here. But no matter what Stone's done the last couple of years, and he's made some good moves. The Dylan Brooks move has worked out well. The Fred VanVleet move has worked out well. Trading for Steven Adams, what a trade. Obviously, Amen Thompson, who fell into his lap. Obviously, Alperen Şengün. There's been some things that Stone's done that deserve a pat on the back. But don't talk down to us like you got some pelts on the wall. The only guy who can do that in this press conference setting that we're going through right now is Ime Udoka. That's it. Udoka took that team to the finals and was part of an operation in Boston that's arguably the most successful organization in the NBA in terms of just being able to build from the absolute bottom of a pit and turn themselves into what they are right now. We'll see if they get more than one title. Personally, I hope that they do. But while I'm not on the warpath here, some sort of Big J journalist that doesn't want to be talked down to by a general manager, all I will say is, Rafael, that comment about how, like, yeah, I like to brag to Ime about how I can manipulate data. It was fucking annoying. It was. You know it. Or maybe you don't. I don't know. More from the Rockets' end of season press conference. Both Ime Udoka and Rafael Stone. I think it's very important to hear this clip about Amen Thompson. This is Ime Udoka weighing in on what a beast he is.
Extremely hard worker, a grinder like all of our guys are. We never had to complain about that, of guys not putting in the work. And so he views himself as one of the best, if not the best, at what he's trying to be. And there's no real ceiling for him. He's going to continue to ascend like that. But the understanding, he catches on very quickly. And once he does some things, he applies it and kind of puts it in his memory bank. And just his versatility, as you know, he's much different. We use him in much different ways than what he did his whole career, and he's adapted to all those things very well. And so, ultimate Swiss Army knife. You put him in any position, 1 through 5 he guards, 1 through 5 he has played, and gives us a ton of luxury and versatility to have a guy like that. But yeah, sky's the limit, no ceiling on what he wants to be, and the work he puts in has showed that.
He's the epitome of what Ime Udoka wants in a basketball player. And he's my favorite player on the team. He is as close to untouchable as any player in the league can be. And he is their best player. It's not debatable. And that's part of the Paul Gallant Rockets offseason doctrine. It's point number 1. He's their best player, not debatable. But please work on your range this offseason. And I think he will. Udoka said he's a hard worker. More from Rafael Stone, from Ime Udoka. I thought this was an interesting point made by Rafael Stone, who said that no one is untouchable.
No, I mean, you can't. I think that would be the untouchable. Like the business we're in, nobody, myself included, nobody's untouchable. You know. And
I mean, to a point though, Rafael. I mean, you did survive the Silas Perch. And yeah, I think he's pretty fortunate to be sticking around for Ime Udoka, but more Rafael Stone.
And so, you know, I wouldn't want to say that, but everybody on our roster we deeply value, and so
there's one guy that I'm not so sure that they do, but it's entirely that guy's fault. We'll get to him in a moment.
So you know, I think you have to be careful with your words there. I have to be careful with my words. You can do whatever you want with yours.
Good clarification. And honestly, a clarification like that would have probably been nice at the beginning of a little earlier in the press conference when we were playing his interaction with Jackson Gatlin, where Gatlin was asking about stats about Jaylen Green. Anyway, more Rafael Stone.
In terms of, like we have those picks. We accumulated them so that we could either draft guys in the future or upgrade our current roster. Time will tell what we do with it, or flip them into the future, which we've done a couple of times. And we'll see what makes the most sense at the time.
No one is untouchable. I would say Thompson's close to it. I'd say Şengün is almost close to it. I mean, he's so damn close. It's another part of the Paul Gallant doctrine. Unless you're getting Giannis or someone elite, that's the only reason I'm thinking about Şengün as touchable. Who is the guy, asks several folks. Who is that guy that perhaps we know his future with the Houston Rockets is in doubt? Because I didn't get the vibe that it's Jaylen Green. It didn't get the vibe that it's Amen Thompson, it's Alperen Şengün. Who's the guy whose future is in doubt? Ladies and gentlemen, here is a question about Mr. 2 minutes in a blowout, Cam Whitmore.
Cam expressed a couple times just like his unsureness of what his role was on this team. Did you have any special conversations with him? Do you have to this offseason? What was his role? What does he have to do to change his role?
Yeah, I was a little caught off guard by that as well, because we've had in-depth conversations with Cam, probably more than anybody. And so,
oh no, he's got the disappointed face on. He's smirking a little bit. He's not mad. He's disappointed.
I'm pretty clear with what is going to get you on the court and what's going to help you sustain a role. And so, I'll leave it at that as far as that. But plenty of conversations, very clear with what's needed. And, opportunities are there and not always taken advantage of, or, other guys step up and play a little better at times, and you're looking for that consistency there. And so, We'll have our exit meetings. We had about 5 or 6 yesterday, and we'll catch the other guys before they leave town and reiterate a lot of points. But ton of potential there. Just the consistency is the main thing, and he knows that.
Well, he did talk about the potential there, and I think I would too, because I think he's a trade chip for sure. He does have a lot of talent, but there's an attitude thing going on with him that I don't quite understand, given how good this team was this year. I get it. He's not playing that much, but okay. There's a reason you're not playing that much, and you're not sure why you're not playing. I'm pretty sure that Udoka would be very direct about it. Some comments here. D6 Chris HTX. No, not my GOAT Cam. Cam's better than Amen. Sir, relax. He also continues saying, ironic, they would be saying the same thing about Jaylen Green if he wasn't so popular. I don't know about that. What else do we have comment-wise? Nope, it's pretty much it. There's one more clip. I don't have this in the rundown that I wanted to put in. But one last clip from Ime Udoka just talking about the most valuable thing the Rockets got from this season.
An experience for me is a big thing for our young guys going through it for the first time, and how fast can we adapt to it, and next time we're in the playoffs, it's hit the ground running from game one, not, take a step back. And I think we kind of found our footing, midway through the series, but let go of some opportunities early that I think with the series under your belt, a hard-fought series, you can kind of reflect on and go back on those lessons that you've learned. And so I think our guys will be better for it, no doubt.
I'm with him there. I think playing the Warriors in the first round, it's good that they played them. Obviously, they lost. But I think it's really good that they got that team as the first team that they played in the playoffs. The one last clip I wanted to get to, this is honestly the best thing that I thought Rafael Stone said all press conference. Let's wrap it up with this.
We're going to work hard over the summer, and everybody's going to be better. Then we'll see where we're at. Like, that's the one thing I know will happen. Yeah, the rest we'll see, but I know that will happen. And we have the vast bulk of our rotational minutes are being played by players that I believe in my soul will be way better next year than they were this year, because that's the point of their career that they're at. So I think we'll see what that brings.
It's an off season of hard work for everybody. And I think to have it end in disappointing fashion like this, just like getting broken up with a lady and or a guy, whoever you date, I think it's going to motivate these guys. But it will be very interesting to see who makes the biggest jump from this year to next. Going into the offseason, I think Amin Thompson's the best Houston Rocket over Alperen Şengün. But Şengün could potentially change that if he gets better this offseason. And I think you could say the same thing about Amin Thompson, maybe even increasing it. And for Jaylen Green, I think a moment like this is really going to tell us a lot about him. I am not entirely out on Jaylen Green like so many are. Couple of comments before we wrap this bad boy up. The Gallant Says podcast live. D6 Chris HTX on Twitch asks, Gallant Says, is that the new El Tiempo hat you're wearing? I need that ASAP. It is, but it was over the top expensive. It only cost as much as 3.5 El Tiempo margaritas. I'm doing my math. I think an El Tiempo margarita's $16 now, and this hat costs $65. It is a stupid purchase. I kind of regret it because it doesn't really match anything that I have. Paul, why do you care about matching? Well, because I do. The brim's cool, huh? And if you like cool mint, it's got a nice color. El Tiempo, I love them. I've been there so many times. More comments. This is from YouTube. Brandon Halam says, if enough people bet on the Ravens to beat the Texans, will the league rig a win over them? Nah, I don't think so. More people care about football of the NFL variant in the Northeast. And I think that they would want to have that Ravens fan base, which actually is, to this point, a little more national. I think it's going to take 3 to 4 years before the Texans have games rigged for them, and it's going to involve at least 1, if not 2 Super Bowls. More comments. The detail spot on YouTube. I think pulling Jaylen first, halfway through the first quarter in Game 3, really messed him up mentally. He was benched more than any starter during the playoffs, just added pressure. But he wasn't playing well. He wasn't being decisive. He was missing shots. Like there's lots of reasons for it. I mean, you could say pulling him messed him up mentally. That's something that shouldn't mess him up mentally, And he's young. I understand that. But let's not make so many excuses for a guy that we know is capable of the world. The guy's got incredible skills. If he does put it all together, whether it's getting bigger, improving his dribble, like in terms of just skills as somebody with the ball in his hands, like he's got that legs up on Amin Thompson, and in terms of his speed and athleticism, he's got that on Alperen Şengün to this point. So we know he's capable of it. I'm tired of the excuses being made for him. I am defending him to a degree, but I'm also, I'm not being overprotective. He wasn't good in this series. Period. That's it. D6 Chris HTX says, it matches, but you got Ung style. You don't know how to rock it. No, that flat brim looks fucking stupid. Flat brim. Oh, I got a flat brim out. You look like a fucking idiot. Also, if you got like the sticker on top, what, did you steal it? It's fucking dumb. Oh, I got the little sticker underneath it. Yeah. I wear a baseball hat like a baseball hat because I played baseball. Not very well. But anyway, that's the final thought on this show. Flat brim hats look fucking stupid. And I, not to be racist against my own people, but I don't think white people can pull them off. I just don't. Anyway, guys, on that note, assuming I don't get canceled, that's going to wrap up today's edition of the Gallant Says podcast. We do this thing weekdays. We're still trying to be consistent with our time. Live on YouTube at Paul Gallant. Like this video and subscribe if you haven't. On Twitch at Gallant Says, give me a sub. On X and Twitter at Gallant Says. On TikTok, if you want to watch clips of the show, also Instagram where you can watch this too. At Sports Gallant on Instagram, at Gallant Says on TikTok. Follow me on both. Facebook at Paul Gallant Sports. Like my page. We don't do much on Facebook. Trying to change that. Again, lots of things on the horizon this offseason as things slow down a little bit for me. It's been a crazy 2 weeks. It's also done occasionally after major Houston sporting events. It's available after the fact wherever you get your podcast. So if you haven't already, subscribe, rate, and review said podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you roast my ass on that review, I will read it at some point during the show. Until tomorrow, so long, farewell, and have yourselves a wonderful it's Wednesday morning. Have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday morning. Peace.